Florida, 1938. Donald Roebling's workshop. The old man's hands shake as he spreads the newspaper across the workbench. The headline reads, 10 years since Lake Okeechobee, 1,800 dead. Wendell Hargrove, 30 years old, watches from the doorway. He's been working with Roebling for 6 months now, but he's never seen the inventor like this. Roebling doesn't look up. His voice cracks. They drowned in 3 feet of water, Wendell. 3 feet. The levee broke at 2 in the morning. No boats could reach them through the sawgrass. No trucks could drive through the mud. They just drowned. Mothers holding babies, old men clinging to tree stumps. Wendell steps closer. The workshop smells of grease and welding flux. In the corner sits Roebling's obsession, a steel box on tracks, half-finished, covered in blueprints and discarded parts. The alligator, he calls it. A machine that can swim. Is that why you build it? Wendell asks. Roebling finally looks up. His eyes are wet. I build it so no one ever drowns waiting for rescue again. Wendell walks to the alligator prototype. He runs his hand along the cold steel hull. The tracks are massive, designed to churn through swamp mud, but the hull is open-topped. The engine sits at the rear. There's no ramp, just high walls soldiers would have to climb over. Mr. Roebling, Wendell says quietly, if you want to save people, this needs to be perfect. The old man nods. Then make it perfect, son. I'm too old, but you're not. 5 years later, Food Machinery Corporation, Dunedin, Florida. August 1943. The telegram sits on Wendell Hargrove's desk, 4 years old now, edges worn from handling. Constance Marie Hargrove, complications during childbirth, deceased August 12, 1939. Infant son Everett survived. 4 years of raising Everett alone while designing landing vehicles for a war he never wanted to touch. But now he touches it every day. The LVT-1, they call it. Landing Vehicle Tracked Mark I. Based on Roebling's alligator, but rushed into production after Pearl Harbor. Wendell walks the factory floor, watching 200 workers bolt steel plates onto hulls that look nothing like what Roebling dreamed of. The design is wrong. He knows it. Everyone knows it. The engine still sits at the rear. Troops still have to climb over 4-foot walls to get in and out. In training exercises, Marines take 40 seconds to load. 40 seconds under fire is a death sentence, but the contracts are signed. The factories are running. 800 LVT-1s delivered to the Pacific, and then Tarawa happened. Wendell stops at the bulletin board. Someone pinned a newspaper clipping there yesterday. Bloody Tarawa, 1,500 Marines dead in 76 hours. The photograph shows corpses floating in the lagoon, Marines draped over the sides of LVT-1s, shot while climbing out. His hands clench into fists. Mr. Hargrove? He turns. A young woman stands behind him, maybe 25, wearing coveralls and holding a clipboard. Her name tag reads, Adelaide Hargrove, Junior Engineer, his sister, the only family he has left besides Everett. Adelaide, bad, he says. What is it? She glances at the Tarawa clipping, then back at him. The brass wants to see you. Conference room. Now. The conference room, 15 minutes later. 6 men in military uniforms sit around the table. At the head sits Colonel Samuel Rawlings, Marine Corps liaison to FMC. Rawlings has the look of a man who's seen too much. Hollowed eyes, graying temples, hands that never stop moving. Mr. Hargrove, Rawlings says, no preamble. You designed the rear-loading variant, LVT-4. Wendell nods. I submitted the proposal 9 months ago. You rejected it. Cost overruns, retooling the entire production line. 40% increase in unit price. Yes, sir. Rawlings slides a folder across the table. Wendell opens it. Photographs spill out. Dead Marines on Tarawa Beach, burning VT-1s, bodies still inside vehicles, trapped because they couldn't climb out fast enough. "We were wrong," Rawlings says quietly. The room goes silent. "We need the LVT-4. We need it in 6 months. We need 800 units minimum." Rawlings leans forward. "Can you do it?" Wendell looks at the photographs. A boy, maybe 19 years old, slumped over the side of an LVT-1, bullet holes in his back. He was climbing out when he died. "I can do it," Wendell says, "but I need full authority, no interference, no budget cuts, and I need my own team." "Done." One of the other officers clears his throat. "Mr. Hargrove, you understand the timeline is aggressive. I understand men are dying because of bad design. That's all I need to understand." 6 months later, February 1944, Eglin Field, Florida. The first LVT-4 sits in the testing pool. Wendell stands on the observation platform, watching. Beside him, Adelaide takes notes. Below, in the driver's compartment, a young Marine sergeant named Jimmy Kowalski grins and gives a thumbs up. The engine roars, the tracks bite water, the LVT-4 surges forward, making 7 miles per hour across the pool. This is the moment. The rear ramp. 30 Marines wait on the far bank. The LVT-4 beaches. The ramp drops. Boots hammer steel. All 30 men pour out in 18 seconds. 18 seconds, not 40. Adelaide scribbles frantically. "Jesus, Del, it works!" Wendell doesn't answer. He's watching Kowalski climb out of the driver's hatch, still grinning. The sergeant is 22 years old, from Louisiana swamps, grew up driving fan boats through a Chafalaya basin. Good man, fearless. But Wendell can't shake the image from the Tarawa photographs. That 19-year-old Marine shot while climbing out. "Run it again," Wendell says. They run it 12 more times. By the final test, 30 Marines load and unload in 14 seconds. Colonel Rawlings appears at Wendell's shoulder. "Approved for production. We're retooling 3 factories. Target 500 units by June." That night, Wendell drives home to the small house in Clearwater. Everett is 5 years old now, asleep upstairs, watched by the neighbor lady. He sits in the dark living room, Constance's photograph on the mantel. She never got to hold Everett, never heard him laugh, died so the boy could live, and now Wendell builds machines that let other boys live. He hopes that's enough. November 1944, the telegram arrives at dawn. Wendell is sketching cold weather modifications when Adelaide's car screeches into the driveway. She thrusts a telegram at him. "To Mr. W. Hargrove, FMC, Special Orders. Report. Scotland. November 18 for 6 month, Technical Liaison Detail. 79th Armoured Division, British Army. Honorary rank, Captain for duration, non-voluntary." Wendell reads it twice. 6 months? In England? Scotland first, then England. Adelaide's voice shakes. "Del, they can't do this. You have Everett. You can't just—" "Non-voluntary." He sets the telegram down. "They can, they are." She grabs his arm. "Fight it. Tell them you have a son, a 5-year-old son, with no mother." 500 LVT-4s just got shipped to the British under Lend-Lease. They don't know how to maintain them. They don't know the cold weather protocols. If those vehicles fail, then let them fail. You didn't sign up to save the British Army. Wendell pulls free. He walks to the workbench, hands flat on the scarred wood. "I signed up to make sure no more boys die like Tarawa. British, American, doesn't matter. If I can keep those LVTs running, I keep someone's son alive." Adelaide's face crumbles. "Del, he's 5. He needs his father. I'll be back before Christmas. 6 months, that's the order." She doesn't answer, just turns and walks out. Wendell climbs the stairs. Everett is exactly where he pictured him, cross-legged on the bed, rolling a wooden truck back and forth. The boy looks up, grinning. "Papa, you're up early." Wendell sits on the edge of the bed.
Everett, I need to tell you something. I have to go away for a little while.
The truck stops rolling. Where? England, to help some soldiers. When? Next week. Everett's lower lip trembles. Is it like when Mama went away? Wendell's chest tightens. No, buddy, not like that. I'm coming back, I promise, before Christmas, and we'll get a big tree, okay? Everett nods, but he doesn't smile. Wendell pulls the boy into a hug. For a moment, he considers refusing the orders. Take the consequences, stay home. But then he sees the Tarawa photographs again. The 19-year-old Marine draped over the LVT-1 wall. Someone has to make sure that doesn't happen again, even if it costs him 6 months with his son. November 18th, 1944. Prestwick, Scotland. The transport plane touches down in cold rain. A British Army staff car idles nearby. A young lieutenant emerges, saluting. Captain Hargrove, Lieutenant Bexley, Major Fitzwilliam sends his regards. They drive 2 hours through grey countryside. The headquarters is a requisitioned manor house outside Edinburgh. Bexley leads Wendell through hallways that smell of damp wool and cigarette smoke. Finally, a closed door. Bexley knocks. Come. The office is Spartan, maps on the walls showing France, Belgium, Holland, and behind the desk a man who looks like he's aged 20 years in the last 5, Major Percy Fitzwilliam, 50 years old, thin face, sharp eyes, a scar running from his left ear to his jaw. Captain Hargrove.
Dear, Fitzwilliam doesn't stand, doesn't offer a handshake. Sit. Wendell sits. Fitzwilliam studies him for a long moment. You're the engineer, the one who designed the rear ramp for the LVT-4. Yes, sir. Your government sent us 500 of your vehicles. Very generous. Fitzwilliam's tone suggests otherwise. Tell me, Captain, have you ever seen the English Channel in winter? No, sir. Have you ever seen the Rhine? No, sir.
Then you have no bloody idea whether your LVT-4 will work in European conditions, do you? Wendell keeps his voice level. The LVT-4 is rated for 3-knot currents, sir. Operational temperatures from 35 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been tested in Florida swamps and Pacific lagoons, not in rivers that flow 6 knots when the Germans open upstream dams, not in water that's 2 degrees Celsius. Fitzwilliam stands, walks to the window. I was at Dunkirk, Captain, May 1940. We evacuated 300,000 men using whatever boats we could find. And do you know how many men I personally lost? No, sir. 218, drowned, shot while swimming, crushed between boats. Fitzwilliam turns. I will not lose men because your American swamp machine can't handle a German winter. Do I make myself clear? Crystal, sir. Good. You'll observe training exercises tomorrow at the River Meuse in Holland. That night, Wendell writes 2 letters, one to Adelaide. Arrived safely. British command is skeptical, will prove them wrong. One to Everett. Dear buddy, I miss you already. England is cold and rainy. I'll be back before you know it. Love, Papa. He seals them both, knowing Everett can't read yet. Adelaide will read it to him. Wendell lies in the narrow cot, staring at the ceiling. Rain drums against the windows. He thinks of Everett, 5 years old, 3,000 miles away, wondering when Papa is coming home. 6 months, he promised. He's going to keep that promise. River Meuse, Holland. November the 20th, 1944. Dawn breaks grey and bitter. Wendell stands on the western bank, watching 6 LVT-4s idle at the water's edge. The Meuse is 200 yards wide here, black as oil, moving fast. Lieutenant Bexley hands him binoculars. 1st Battalion starts in 10 minutes. Watch the second one. Driver's Sergeant Alistair Drummond, Scotsman, fought at Tobruk, El Alamein, Sicily. The lead LVT lurches forward, It hits the water, bow dipping, then levels out. The second LVT follows. Wendell focuses on the driver's compartment, red beard, eyes locked forward. Drummond. The LVT enters the water at the wrong angle, 20 degrees off axis. The current catches the port side. The vehicle starts to swing. Wendell lowers the binoculars. No, he's... The LVT spins, rotating like a weather vane, drifting downstream. Drummond overcorrects. The vehicle slews sideways, broadside to the current, drifting 30 yards before he finally angles into the flow. By the time Drummond beaches, he's 150 yards south of the landing point. The third LVT crosses. Same mistake. Wendell walks down to the water's edge. They're doing it all wrong. Bexley appears beside him. Beg pardon, sir? The approach angle. They're hitting the water like it's a beach. It's a river, moving water. You have to enter at 45 degrees upstream, let the current swing you parallel, then straighten out. Perhaps you should tell them that. 3 hours later, the briefing tent. 20 LVT drivers sit on wooden benches, still wet from morning exercises. Wendell stands at a blackboard with a crude river diagram. Major Fitzwilliam leans against the tent pole watching. Wendell points to the diagram. Gentlemen, I watched 6 crossings this morning. 5 of you drifted off course. The 6th hit perfectly. Do you know why? A young corporal shifts. Luck, sir? No, geometry. You entered at 45 degrees upstream. The current pushed your stern around, but you had forward momentum to compensate. A voice from the back. Rough, Scottish. That's fine for 3 knots, Captain. The Rhine flows 5, sometimes 6 when the Jerrys open the dams. Sergeant Drummond, Redbeard. Arms like oak logs. You're right, Wendell says, which makes the approach angle even more critical. At 6 knots, if you enter perpendicular, your vehicle will spin 180, you'll beach backwards, your ramp facing the wrong direction. Silence. I watched you this morning, Sergeant Drummond. You entered at 90 degrees, the Meuse pushed you downstream. On the Rhine, you'd have spun completely. Drummond's jaw tightens. I've driven tanks through worse. I don't doubt it. But an LVT isn't a tank. It's a boat with tracks, different hydrodynamics, higher center of gravity. You can't muscle it through water like you muscle a Churchill through mud. Fitzwilliam speaks from the tent pole. Captain Hargrove, how many river crossings have you personally conducted? None, sir. How many combat operations? None, sir. Then perhaps you should confine your observations to maintenance and leave tactics to men who've seen the elephant. The tent goes quiet. Wendell walks to the tent pole, stops 3 feet from Fitzwilliam. Major, with respect, I designed the LVT-4. I know its capabilities better than anyone in this tent. If you want these men to cross the Rhine and live, let me teach them how to drive it properly. Fitzwilliam's eyes narrow. For a moment, Wendell thinks he's pushed too far. Then Fitzwilliam nods. Very well, Captain. 1 week. Train them. The next 7 days blur together. Wendell runs drivers through crossing drills dawn to dusk. 6 LVTs at a time, 30 crossings per day. He makes them practice at night, using only engine sound and current feel to navigate in rain, in fog, in conditions where they can't see the far bank until 50 yards out. Sergeant Drummond becomes his unlikely ally. On the 3rd day, Drummond masters the approach angle. He enters at 45 degrees, lets current swing him, corrects smoothly, beaches within 10 feet of target. When he climbs out, Wendell is waiting. Well done, Sergeant. Drummond wipes water from his beard. Still think it's bloody mad? It is, but it's faster than boats, and the men stay dry, mostly. They walk back toward the tent. Drummond lights a cigarette, offers one. Wendell declines. You have family, Captain? A son, Everett, 5 years old. Wife? She died, childbirth. 5 years ago. Drummond nods slowly. I'm sorry. What about you? No wife? Had a sweetheart once in Aberdeen. She married a fisherman while I was in North Africa. He exhales smoke. Probably for the best. They walk in silence. Then Drummond speaks quieter. Dunkirk. I was there, 20 years old. 30 men in my platoon when we started. 8 when we got on the boat. The boats were too slow. Stukas came. Men drowned because we couldn't get them off the beach fast enough. He looks at Wendell. That's why I'm here, eh? Why I'll drive your LVT into whatever hell the Rhine throws at me, because I won't watch men drown again, not if I can help it. Wendell just nods. That night, he writes to Adelaide. Training is going well. The British soldiers are good men, just set in their ways. I'm changing their minds. Slowly. Tell Everett I miss him. Tell him Papa is helping soldiers who lost friends. Tell him I'll be home for Christmas. He seals the letter, knowing it's a lie. The Rhine operation is scheduled for late March. He won't be home for Christmas. January 1945. The letter arrives. Wendell is under an LVT-4, replacing a transmission mount, when Lieutenant Bexley finds him. Captain, post from America. Wendell slides out, wipes grease, takes the envelope. Adelaide's handwriting. Dell, Everett has been running a fever for 5 days now. Doctor says influenza, but it's not improving. He keeps asking for you. I tell him you're helping soldiers, that you'll be home soon. The doctor says he'll be fine. I'm sure he's right. But Dell, he's so small and the fever is so high at night. I know the work is important. Just write to him, please. Even if he can't read it yet, I'll read it to him. Adelaide Wendell reads it 3 times. He goes to his quarters and writes, Dear Everett, Papa misses you very much. I know you're sick, buddy, but you're strong. You're the strongest boy I know. The doctor is taking good care of you, and Aunt Adelaide is there. I'm helping soldiers here learn to use special vehicles that keep them safe. When I come home, I'll tell you all about it. Be brave for me, okay? I love you. Papa. He mails both letters that afternoon, then returns to work because if he stops, he'll think. And if he thinks, he'll break. February through early March. Training intensifies. Night crossings in freezing rain. Crossings under simulated artillery fire. Crossings with engines throttled down to mimic cold weather performance loss. Drummond becomes Wendell's right hand, teaching other men what he's learned. By mid-February, all 80 drivers can execute perfect approach angles. Adelaide's letters continue. February 3rd. The fever broke. Doctor says he's out of danger. He's weak, still coughing, but he's going to be fine, thank God. February 18th. He drew you a picture today. A boat with wheels. I think he means the LVT from the newspaper photo I showed him. He misses you terribly. Wendell writes back every week. I'm so proud of you, buddy. You're so brave. March approaches like a storm. March 10th, 1945. The intelligence briefing. Major Fitzwilliam stands before maps of the Rhine. Red marks indicate German positions. Blue marks show planned crossing points. Gentlemen, the date is set. March 23rd, Operation Plunder. The 51st Highland Division crosses at Rhine. The 15th Scottish Division at Wesel. Total force, 40,000 men and 600 LVT-4s. A murmur runs through the room. Intelligence reports the Germans have opened upstream dams. Water level up 2 meters. Current speed estimated at 5 knots, possibly 6. Wendell's stomach tightens. Major, Drummond speaks from the back. The LVT-4 is rated for 3.5 knots. Captain Hargrove said so. Fitzwilliam looks at Wendell. Captain, can the LVT handle 6 knots? Every eye turns. Wendell stands slowly. The LVT-4 was tested up to 4 knots. Theoretical maximum is 4.5. At 6 knots, he pauses. At 6 knots, you'll see control problems, increased drift, possible engine stalls if water gets into the air intake. And if current catches you broadside, you could capsize. Silence. Could, Captain, or will? Could, if the driver makes mistakes, if he panics, if he doesn't trust his training. Fitzwilliam nods. Then we'd better make damn sure our drivers don't make mistakes. After the briefing, Drummond finds Wendell outside. 6 knots. Jesus. It's survivable if you do everything right. And if we don't? Wendell doesn't answer. Drummond lights a cigarette. You're scared? Terrified? Of the crossing? Of what happens if it fails? I designed the LVT-4. If men die because my design isn't good enough, then their blood is on your hands. Drummond exhales. We all carry our dead, Captain. The trick is not letting them bury us. March 21st, 1945, 3 days before the crossing. Wendell receives a telegram. He reads it in the telegraph office, standing alone. Everett condition worsened. Stop. Pneumonia. Stop. Doctor says next 48 hours. Critical. Stop. Please advise. Stop, Adelaide. His hands shake. He reads it again. Next 48 hours. Critical. The Rhine crossing is in 2 days. He walks to his quarters in a daze, sits on the cot, stares at the telegram. His son is dying, 3,000 miles away. And he's here. For an hour he sits motionless. Then he makes a decision. He doesn't go to Fitzwilliam. He doesn't request leave. Because he already knows what the answer will be. Instead, he goes to the motor pool, works through the night, checking vehicles, tightening bolts, testing engines, anything to keep his hands busy. Because if his hands are busy, his mind can't think about Everett in a hospital bed, struggling to breathe. March 22nd, 1945. Night. The motor pool. Wendell sits in the driver's seat of an LVT-4, writing by flashlight. Not a letter, a technical manual. 47 pages of notes, diagrams, troubleshooting procedures, everything he knows about the LVT-4. At midnight, Drummond appears. Can't sleep either. No. They work in silence, checking vehicles that have already been checked. Finally, Drummond speaks. I'm terrified, Captain. First time I'll admit it. Then Wendell hands him the technical manual. If the engine overheats, open valve 7. If steering pulls left, pump the right brake 3 times. If water gets in the exhaust, goose the throttle. Drummond takes it, flips through. You made this for me? For all of you, 80 copies. Drummond's eyes glisten. Thank you. They shake hands. At 0200 hours, Wendell returns to quarters. There's another telegram. Everett. Critical stop. Unconscious. Stop. Breathing labored. Stop. Priest called. Stop. Come home. Stop. Adelaide. Wendell crumples it in his fist. He walks to Fitzwilliam's office. Pounds on the door. Fitzwilliam answers in his bathrobe. Captain, it's 2 in the... My son is dying. The words hang in the air. Fitzwilliam's face changes. Come in. Inside, Wendell hands him the telegram. Fitzwilliam reads it. Sets it down gently. I'm sorry. I need to go home, right now, tonight. The operation begins in 19 hours. I don't care. You don't care? Fitzwilliam's voice hardens. Captain, if you leave now, who maintains the LVTs when they break down? Who troubleshoots the engines? Who... Find someone else! There is no one else. You're the only one who knows these machines. If you walk away, men will die. Wendell slams his fist on the desk. Papers scatter. He's 5 years old. He's dying, and I'm not there. Fitzwilliam doesn't flinch. I know. I'm sorry, but in 19 hours, 600 LVTs cross the Rhine. If they fail, 5,000 men die. Your son has doctors. He has your sister. Those boys on the Rhine, they only have you. Wendell's legs give out. He sinks into a chair. If he dies while I'm here, then you'll carry it forever. But 5,000 other boys will live to see their fathers. Silence stretches. Fitzwilliam sits across from him. 4 years ago, I stood on a beach at Dunkirk and chose which men to evacuate first. I chose the ones with the best chance. I left 218 men behind because there wasn't room on the boats. They drowned, waiting for boats that never came. His voice drops. I still hear them at night, calling for help I couldn't give. This is command, Captain. We make choices that haunt us, but we make them because someone must. Wendell closes his eyes. Finally, he stands. I'll stay. No, I'll arrange the fastest transport home the moment the crossing is complete. You have my word. Wendell walks back to his quarters, sits at the small desk, writes one last letter. Everett, I'm so sorry I'm not there. I'm so sorry, buddy. Papa loves you more than anything in the world. Please fight. Please be strong. I'm coming home as soon as I can. I promise. I love you so much. Papa. He seals it, then lies on the cot and stares at the ceiling until the sun rises. March 23rd, 1945. 1900 hours. Western bank of the Rhine, near Rhine, the artillery begins at sunset. Wendell stands on a bluff overlooking the river, hands jammed in pockets, watching the world catch fire. 5,500 guns open up along a 20-mile front. The sound is biblical. Each shell screams overhead, and when they hit the far bank, the earth erupts in mud and flame. The barrage will last 2 hours. At 2100 hours, the first wave crosses. 600 LVT-4s idle in marshalling areas behind him. 18,000 men in the first wave. Major Fitzwilliam appears beside him. The smoke screen is deploying. 66 miles long, longest in history. He lowers binoculars. How are the vehicles? Ready. And you, Captain? Wendell doesn't answer. He's thinking about the telegram, now 40 hours old. Breathing labored, priest called. That means right now Everett is either fighting for his life or already gone. And Wendell is here. Captain? I'm fine, sir. At 20:30 hours, Wendell walks to the staging area. LVT-4s lined up in columns of 6. Inside each cargo bay, soldiers sit shoulder to shoulder, faces blackened with camouflage paint. He finds Drummond in the lead LVT. The Scotsman looks up. Captain, come to see us off? Something like that. Drummond climbs out. His hands are steady, but his eyes show the fear. Tell me the truth, sir. What are our chances? Wendell hands him the folded manual. You've practiced this 200 times. You know the approach angle. You know how to read the current. You know what to do if the engine stalls. He pauses. Your chances are as good as I can make them. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. They shake hands. Wendell moves down the line. At the 5th LVT, he finds a young driver, pale as milk, hands shaking. First time? Wendell asks. The kid nods. What's your name? Callahan, sir. Private Callahan. Where you from? Boston. Southie. You know how to drive this? Yes, sir. Sergeant Drummond taught me. Then trust your training. Trust the machine. It'll bring you home. Callahan swallows. My kid brother, he's 9. He thinks I'm a hero. I don't want to let him down. Wendell's chest tightens. He thinks of Everett. You won't. Just do what you've been taught. 2,100 hours. The crossing begins. The artillery shifts to smoke rounds, laying a grey curtain across the river. Visibility drops to 50 yards. The first column moves forward. Wendell watches from the command post. Radio operators call out reports. Column 1 entering water. At midpoint. Beached. All 6 vehicles. No casualties. Troops deploying. The command post erupts in cheers. Fitzwilliam exhales. Column 2, you are clear to proceed. Drummond's voice crackles over the radio, steady despite engine roar. Column 2 entering water. 28 souls aboard. See you on the other side. Wendell grabs binoculars, but the smoke is too thick. Just grey fog and occasional muzzle flashes. The radio operator calls time. Column 2, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 90 seconds. 4 minutes, that's how long it should take. Column 2, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Wendell's hands tighten. Column 2, 4 minutes. Come on, Drummond. Column 2, 4:30.
Something's wrong. Column 2, do you copy? Static. Then Drummond's voice, strained. Column 2 Alpha reporting, we're across. Ramp down, but 2 Bravo is in trouble. Fitzwilliam leans over. What kind of trouble? Engine overheating. He's losing power. Currents pushing him downstream. Wendell grabs the microphone. 2 Bravo, this is Hargrove. Open valve 7. Port side of the engine block. Do it now. A different voice, younger, panicked. I can't find it.
There's smoke. Red valve, port side, third from front. Turn it counterclockwise. 10 seconds of silence. Got it. Smoke clearing. Good. Throttle to 70% and angle 15 degrees into current. We're still drifting. Ignore the drift. Current will swing your stern. Trust the river. Wendell waits. Finally. We're beached. Ramp down. Everyone's out. The command post breathes again. Over the next hour, columns 3 through 10 cross successfully. Radio chatter becomes routine. Then, column 11, 22:45 hours. Disaster. Column 11 enters the water. 6 LVTs, 180 men. The radio erupts. Column 11 Delta. We're hit. We're hit. German artillery. An 88mm shell, fired blind, strikes 11 Delta amidships, punches through armor, detonates inside the engine compartment. Massive explosion. Wendell runs to the bluff's edge. Through a gap in smoke, he sees it. The LVT burning, dead in water, drifting downstream. Stern engulfed in flames, bow low, already flooding. 11 Delta, report! Engines gone, fire in cargo bay, taking water. 30 men trapped, the rear ramp jammed by twisted metal. Fitzwilliam grabs Wendell's arm. Can they get out? Not through the ramp. The bow hatch, maybe. How long before she sinks? 2 minutes. The radio. Bow hatch is stuck. Wendell runs, down the bluff across mud to where a motor launch is tied. A Navy lieutenant mans it. Start the engine. Sir, we can't. The Germans... Wendell shoves him aside, yanks the starter cord. The outboard coughs, catches. He throws off the mooring line and guns the throttle. The launch leaps forward into the Rhine. Smoke envelops him. He steers by sound, following screams. German machine gun fire stitches the water. Tracers arc overhead. A shell explodes 50 yards away, drenching him. He doesn't slow down. The burning LVT materializes. Flames pour from the engine compartment. Bow barely above water. Men cling to the sides, most still trapped inside. Wendell brings the launch alongside. Heat scorches his face. The bow hatch! Can you open it? A soldier, face blackened with smoke, shakes his head. Jammed from inside. Need leverage. Wendell throws him a pry bar. The soldier wedges it under the hatch, heaves. Nothing. 2 more men join. Together they wrench it open with a shriek of metal. Men pour out, scrambling, climbing, falling into water, swimming to the launch or grabbing its sides. 22, 23, 24. The LVT lurches, bow dipping. How many more? 6. Still in cargo bay. Get them out. Ramps jammed. Can't reach them. Wendell looks at the burning wreck. Cargo bay completely engulfed. If there are 6 men still there, they're dead or dying, but he hears them, screaming, pounding on the jammed ramp. He makes a choice. Wendell ties the launch's tow line to the LVT's stern cleat, guns the motor in reverse. The launch strains. The LVT doesn't move. What are you doing? Someone yells. Changing the angle. If I tilt the stern up, the ramp might swing free. He revs to maximum. The outboard screams. For 5 seconds, nothing. Then the stern begins to rise, just inches. The jammed ramp suddenly drops with a crash. 6 men stumble out, coughing, retching, uniforms smouldering. They fall into water and swim for the launch. Wendell hauls them in one by one. The last man, barely conscious, collapses in the boat. 30 men, all 30. The LVT gives a final groan and slides beneath the surface. Wendell races back toward the western bank, German fire crackling. He beaches hard. Medics rush forward. Fitzwilliam is there, face white. "Captain, you goddamn fool! You could have—" "They're all alive, sir, all 30. D." Fitzwilliam stares, then at the rescued men being carried away. Jesus Christ. Wendell sits hard on the muddy bank, hands shaking. A medic tries to check him. "I'm fine, check them." A radio operator runs up. "Sir, message from column 15, 3 vehicles with engine trouble requesting maintenance support." Wendell stands. "Where?" "Northern crossing point, 2 miles upstream." He's already moving. March 24th to 26th, 1945. 72 hours without sleep. The crossing continues for 3 days. Wave after wave. 600 LVT-4s making multiple trips, ferrying 40,000 men across the Rhine. Wendell becomes a ghost, moving from crossing point to crossing point, troubleshooting engines, transmissions, electrical systems. Hands black with grease, eyes red from smoke and exhaustion. Drummond makes 7 crossings. On the 5th, his LVT takes a mortar hit, blows a track. Wendell helps replace it in 45 minutes, working under sniper fire. On the 6th crossing, Drummond beaches, finds Wendell waiting with a fresh fuel filter. "How did you know I'd need this?" "Your engine was running rough last trip. Fuel contamination. Change it now or you'll stall next time." Drummond grips his shoulder. "You're keeping us alive." "Just doing my job." By March 26th, the numbers come in. 3,800 crossings. 38 casualties among LVT crews. 9 vehicles lost. The Rhine has been crossed. That afternoon, a convoy of staff cars arrives. Wendell is repairing an engine when someone clears their throat behind him. He turns. Winston Churchill stands there, cigar clamped between teeth, flanked by Field Marshal Brooke and Fitzwilliam. Wendell scrambles to attention, wiping grease on his trousers. "Sir, Churchill waves him silent. "Captain Hargrove, I'm told you designed the vehicle I'm about to ride across the Rhine." "Yes, sir. The LVT-4. And I'm told you personally saved 30 men from a burning one. And I'm told you haven't slept in 3 days maintaining these machines." Churchill extends his hand. "Young man, you gave us the key to Germany. Thank you." They shake. Churchill's grip is iron. 10 minutes later, Wendell watches Churchill's LVT, driven by Drummond, cross the Rhine. The Prime Minister stands in the cargo bay, waving. Fitzwilliam stands beside Wendell. "You should be proud." "I need to go home, sir." "I know, transport leaves at dawn. You'll be in Florida by April 2nd. That night, Wendell finally checks the telegraph office. 4 messages wait. March 23rd, 1800. Everett. Critical stop. Unconscious, stop Adelaide. March 24th, 1400. Fever broke, stop. Eyes open, stop. Asked for you, stop. Adelaide. March 25th, 0900. Breathing easier, stop. Eating soup, stop. Doctor optimistic, stop. Adelaide, March 26th, 1200. He's going to live, stop. Asking for Papa, stop. Come home, stop. Adelaide. Wendell reads the last one 5 times, folds it carefully, tucks it in his pocket. Everett is alive. He walks outside, looks up at the night sky. Somewhere across that sky, 3,000 miles west, a 6-year-old boy is sleeping in a hospital bed, breathing easier, asking for Papa. Wendell will be there in 6 days. He kept his promise. Not before Christmas, but he kept it. April 2nd, 1945. Clearwater, Florida. 14:30 hours. The taxi drops Wendell at the curb. He pays the driver, shoulders his duffel, stands looking at his house. The lawn needs mowing, mailbox is full, but lights are on inside. He walks up the steps. Before he can knock, the door flies open. Adelaide stands there, tears already streaming. He's upstairs. He's been waiting all day. Wendell takes the stairs 2 at a time. Everett's door is ajar. The boy sits up in bed, thinner than Wendell remembers, dark circles under his eyes, but alive, breathing, real. "Papa?" Wendell crosses the room, drops to his knees beside the bed, pulls his son into his arms. Everett is warm and small and smells like medicine and sleep and home. "I'm sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry I wasn't here. Aunt Adelaide said you were helping soldiers. She said you were saving people." "I tried." "Did you save them?" Wendell thinks of Drummond, of Callahan, of the 30 men pulled from the burning LVT, of the 3,800 crossings, and the 38 who didn't make it, and the thousands who did. "Some of them. I saved some of them." Everett pulls back, looks at him with serious 6-year-old eyes. "Aunt Adelaide showed me the newspaper. It said you're a hero." "I'm not a hero, Ev. I did what I had to do." "The newspaper said you jumped in the river to save soldiers. That's being a hero." Wendell's throat tightens. "You know what's being a hero, buddy? Fighting pneumonia, being strong when you're scared. That's being a hero. You're my hero." Everett considers this solemnly. Then he reaches under his pillow and pulls out a folded piece of paper. "I drew you a picture. When I was sick, Aunt Adelaide said it would help me feel better." He unfolds it. Crayons on paper. A stick figure labeled Papa, standing next to a rectangular shape with circles. LVT is written in Adelaide's handwriting. "That's you saving soldiers," Everett explains, but the newspaper had a picture of the LVT. Aunt Adelaide helped me spell it. Wendell stares at the drawing. His son, burning with fever, thinking he might die, drew a picture of his father saving others. He pulls Everett close again, and this time he does cry. Adelaide appears in the doorway. She meets Wendell's eyes, smiles through her own tears, then quietly closes the door. Wendell holds his son for a long time. Finally, Everett yawns. "Papa, are you going to go away again?" "No, buddy. I'm staying right here." "Promise?" "I promise." "Forever?" "Forever." Everett settles back against his pillow, satisfied. Within minutes, his breathing deepens. Sleep. Wendell sits on the edge of the bed, watching his son sleep. The afternoon light slants through the window. Somewhere downstairs he can hear Adelaide moving in the kitchen. He's home. He's saved 5,000 sons so he could come home to his own. And this time, he's never leaving again. Epilogue. 20 years later. June 1965. Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Wendell Hargrove, 56 years old now, sits in the audience watching his son cross the stage. Everett Hargrove, 26 years old, accepts his doctorate in mechanical engineering. His dissertation, Hydrodynamic Improvements to Amphibious Assault Vehicles, Evolution from LVT-4 to AAV-7. When Everett's name is called, he pauses at the podium, scans the audience, finds his father. He smiles. After the ceremony, they stand outside in June sunshine. Adelaide is there too, with her husband Frank and their 2 daughters. She married in 1947, kept working at FMC until 1962, when she retired as chief engineer. "I read your dissertation," Wendell says, "the modifications to the rear ramp system. Brilliant. I learned from the best." They walk toward the parking lot. Everett stops, turns to his father. "I never thanked you properly for staying in England, for choosing to save those soldiers instead of coming home to me." "Everett, no, let me finish. I was angry about it for years. When I got older, when I understood what you gave up. But reading the after-action reports, Seeing the numbers, 3,800 crossings, 38 casualties, you saved thousands of lives. He pauses, including Sergeant Drummond's. He wrote to you, didn't he, after the war? Wendell nods. For 20 years, until he died last year, liver cancer. He went home to Aberdeen, married his fisherman's widow after her husband died, had 3 children, lived a good life. Because of you? Because of the LVT-4, because of your Aunt Adelaide and Donald Roebling and Jimmy Kowalski and Colonel Rawlings and 100 other people who made it work. Everett smiles. You never could take credit, could you? I learned a long time ago that the best engineering is invisible. It just works. People don't think about it, they just come home alive. They embrace there in the MIT quad while overhead a plane traces a white line across blue sky. Adelaide joins them, slipping her arm through Wendell's. Papa would be proud, she says quietly. And Constance, they'd both be so proud. Wendell looks at his son, who is also looking at the sky, probably thinking about hydrodynamics and amphibious assault vehicles and ways to save lives with good design. Yeah, Wendell says, I think they would be. Final scene, 2021, Lincolnshire, England. The excavation team works carefully, removing mud from the buried LVT-4. It's been 74 years since the British Army used surplus buffaloes to plug flood defences, burying them 30 feet underground. The lead archaeologist brushes dirt from the rear ramp, corroded but intact. She tests the mechanism, the ramp drops. After 74 years, it still works. Inside the cargo bay, she climbs in with a flashlight, sweeping the beam across the interior. On the port side bulkhead, barely visible beneath rust and corrosion, someone has scratched words into the steel. She leans close, reading. For the fathers who stayed. WH 1945. She sits back, runs her fingers over the words. Her assistant climbs in. Who was WH? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. That night, she searches military records, finds a personnel file for Captain Wendell Hargrove, Civilian Technical Liaison, 79th Armored Division, November 1944 to April 1945. Commended for bravery under fire, returned to Florida, she digs deeper, finds his obituary from 1989, survived by son Dr. Everett Hargrove, Professor of Engineering at MIT, predeceased by sister Adelaide Hargrove Chen, pioneering female engineer at Food Machinery Corporation. She finds a photograph from 1965, Wendell and Everett at MIT graduation, father and son, both smiling. She prints the photo and tapes it to her office wall next to the photograph of the excavated LVT-4. 2 machines that saved lives, one built by a man who lost his wife, the other improved by a son who nearly lost his life, both functioning perfectly, decades after they were needed. That's what good engineering is, she thinks. It outlasts us, it saves people we'll never meet. It works even when we're gone. She thinks about the father who stayed when his son was dying, the choice that must have broken him, the 5,000 boys who came home because of that choice. The price of heroism, measured in days away from home. She looks at the photograph one more time, then back at the words scratched into the steel. For the fathers who stayed. And she understands, not just Wendell Hargrove who stayed in England, but all the fathers who stayed when they wanted to run, who chose duty over desire, who carried the weight so others wouldn't have to. She reaches out and touches the cold steel of the LVT-4's hull. Thank you, she whispers. The buffalo sits silent in its grave, waiting for a war that will never come again. But the words remain. Historical note. Between March 23rd to 26th, 1945, British forces using American LVT-4 Buffalo vehicles completed 3,800 Rhine crossings with only 38 crew casualties and 9 vehicles lost. the LVT-4's rear ramp design, developed by Food Machinery Corporation engineer teams in 1943, became the template for all subsequent U.S. amphibious assault vehicles. The AAV-7, still in service in 2024, uses the same basic rear ramp principle. Donald Roebling, whose Alligator rescue vehicle inspired the LVT series, died in 1959. The last known LVT-4 was excavated from Lincolnshire flood defences in 2021. The rear ramp still functioned, in memory of all the fathers who stayed.